Namaste, everybody. Welcome to Citti Media. My name is Citti, your host. Today, we are joined by someone very special. He's a two-time national award winner, an independent filmmaker whose movies have been released across various international film festivals and in India as well. And he's had the courage, a special determination to touch upon controversial subjects like love jihad. Today, we are joined by Sudipto Sen ji. Sudipto ji, namaskar.
Namaste.
Sir, we are living through a pandemic, and obviously, it has been very difficult for all of us, and especially as a filmmaker, you must be traveling a lot. So I just hope that you're safe.
My journey, yes, I am basically a nomad. So besides my filming, I do travel a lot. Interestingly, I was in Los Angeles in March 10th. I had a very important meeting and I had to sign an agreement. So I did that, and 11th of March 2020, LA got into the lockdown, COVID lockdown. And I didn't realize that I am going to get stuck there, because after 3-4 days, I got to know that the LA airport is operating their last flight on 16th of March. So I took the last flight back to India, and that too through Tokyo, Singapore. It was very bad experience I gone through. But finally, I managed to come to Bombay, and the day I come and my home quarantine is over, India got into a long lockdown. So yes, 7-8 months was very bad. I mean, it was a desperate wait. The situation in the country was extremely alarming. The situation was bad with migrant workers and all.
Right.
And in between, which we did is we organized an online film festival, having some of the biggest of the filmmakers of the country. Because incidentally, this year is the Satyajit Ray's 100th year birth anniversary. So we celebrated Satyajit Ray's birth centenary online. So it was a good engagement. And then I slowly started my travel, because right now I am doing a film in Kerala, which I told you, on the issue of conversion and love jihad. So I had to travel frequently there. But again, Kerala got into a mess in the pandemic situation. So yes, it was a trying time. It was really a testing time for us, because filmmaking is the worst hit. Though filmmakers and films kept people alive during the pandemic, because the most watched television and web series is this phase. People survive because of their entertainment. Otherwise, there is no source of going out, sitting home entertainment arrangement. So basically, it was a mixed bag feeling. Yes, we are slowly getting back to normal. And now, if God forbid there is no third wave, yes, everything will resume very soon.
Right. I mean, behind the glamour of films that we see on screen, we very seldom do acknowledge what filmmakers actually go through. And I'm really glad you shared this experience with us. And we're also very glad that you're safe at the moment.
Thank you.
Having said that, can I proceed with my first question?
Yes, of course, yes, you can.
You already touched upon your journey in Kerala. So let me begin with that first. You've been a staunch critic of quote unquote the love jihad, what is happening in states like Kerala, right? Especially you've made a movie on mass conversion. And although you do not bear a certain affiliation, whether it's with the BJP or the RSS, certain sections of the media and certain sections of political parties have tried to sort of label you for that. Did you see this coming, or did this come as a rude shock to you, Sudipto ji?
Saran, the thing is, let me take you back a little, say 15-16 years back. In 2005, the CPM patriarchy, V.S. Achyutanandan, who was the chief minister at that time, came down to Delhi and had a press conference. And he said something shocking, in that press conference. I have the clip. If you want the clip, you want to show. It's a shocking revelation he did. He said that a sinister plan has been hatched by Islamic extremists led by ISIS, that they want to convert Kerala into the hub of the ISIS.
Right.
And for that, they are taking all sorts of means. I mean, you have to understand, Sharon, that Kerala has a very unique kind of demography of the population. As in, Muslim population in Kerala is something close to 22 to 25%. Christian population is almost similar, little less, and rest are Hindu population. Now, if you go to Kerala, the majority Hindu population, which is 50% plus, they will not, most of them will not say they are Hindu. They will say they are atheist. They are communist. So they don't consider as a Hindu population. So if you go by the religious demography, religious pattern, the quote unquote Hindu population is not more than 10 to 15%. Rest are atheist. So I got, sir, when I heard V.S. Achyutanandan's press conference in Delhi, I started, it really aroused a huge kind of panic in me, because Kerala used to be our paradise. You know, Kerala used to, it's not only, it's a God's own country, but also Kerala is like a photographer's, filmmaker's paradise. So hearing something that it is going to be the Islamic terrorist hub in next 20 years, he mentioned this word very specifically, that in 20 years, Kerala will be converted into an Islamic state. So that is the beginning of the journey. I started taking interest, started understanding that how it is it a very radical comments to make, and particularly from a CPM chief minister, who is the patriarch of CPM, right?
Right.
Now, understanding the whole demography, when I reached Kerala to understand the ground level reality, I realized the situation is really pathetic. Pathetic in the sense, earlier it was not the conversion from Hindu community to Islamic Islam. It was essentially the term love jihad. We always misquote the word love jihad. It was actually the church in Kerala mentioned this word. In 1998, Kerala's Bishop mentioned this word, and they were, because it was the handy job of the Christians to convert into Christianity. It is known, internationally known phenomena, that Christians convert non-Christians into Christianity. That is the evangelist religious practice. Now, Islamic terrorism or Islamic extremism actually encroached their territory to convert Christians into Islam. Now, it was going that way when they started raising the issues in different forum, and the onslaught started from Hindu community and converting into the Islam. Now, you have to understand, interreligious marriage is not an uncommon phenomenon in the country, in India. Correct. Interreligious marriage is happening since ages, and India is being called Ganga Jamuna Tehzeeb, or India is called that. It is such a nice, complex kind of society where every religion live together, because we originally there were no Islamic India or a Christian India. It was India per se, holistically. You know, we have one culture, we have one identity as an Indian. Religion never played that role. So I'm not getting into that history, how the whole thing happened, how this unrest and mistrust and all this happened. That is a subject of sociology. I am not getting into that. I'm just confining myself as a filmmaker, what I understood. Now, in 2010, Kerala High Court gave a verdict, and Kerala High Court first time used the word love jihad. So just there were some cases, 2 or 3 cases been and referred to Kerala High Court, and they first time used, and they ordered an NIA inquiry on those 2 cases, on those 2-3 cases. So that was the first time officially any constitutional body used the word love jihad. But and that time in 2010, so I'm shifting from 2005, V.S. Achyutanandan's statement, to 2010, when Oman Chandi was Kerala's chief minister. He put a report on the floor of Kerala Assembly. He cannot deny the fact. And he, in front of my camera, he denied the fact that no, nothing of that sort had happened. But I have document that in 2010 in Kerala Assembly, Oman Chandi presented a case where been said that every year 3,000, approximately 2,800 to 3,200 girls being converted into and taking up Islam. So, and this number 2,800 to 3,200, just calculate in 10 years and following 10 years, the number is staggering 32 to 33,000 girls being converted. Now, you tell me that if it is a love, then love should prevail in a relationship. Religion never come into that periphery of love. So why a girl needs to convert to get married, to get accomplishment of their love? It has a huge backlash and the social connotation to understand how the whole Kerala demography, cultural and socio-political demography works. We got some documents, Sharan, you will believe that secret ISIS documents which I have, saying that today we are 22 to 25%. By the time we will reach to cross 30%, then the fight will be on the road. And the population growth percentage, if you go by 2025, Kerala Muslim population will cross 30%. So if a community is 30%, already Kerala has one Muslim majority district called Mallapuram.
Yes.
Then Kerala has, there are villages which is under Sharia law, which is unbelievable, unthinkable in the country like India, where the women are not allowed roam around alone. They have to have a male partner along accompanying them. The schools are closed where only madrasas are being operated. Male folks are barred from cutting their beards. So already Kerala has, I mean, the villages which has Sharia law, almost, the stage is set to take take Kerala into that stage of, Islamic population, Islamic extremist vision to be come into the foreground. Now, so this is what is triggered me. And if I am not sounding very cynical, I traveled from Trivandrum to, northern part of Kerala. And believe me, I never find Kerala is so colorless. Kerala was looking black. It is burqa all over. I never saw Kerala, vibrant Kerala girls with colorful dresses. That was the very common visual we used to think when we used to think of Kerala. Now Kerala, I never saw Kerala that black. So Sharan, it is not against any religion. It is not against Islam. It is not against the Indians who has the Islamic religion. It is against the sinister plan of ISIS, Taliban, and all other extremist organizations who are designing this conspiracy against my country. Right. Now, taking it forward, if you recall, in some time before the fall of Saddam Hussein once said, I think it is very popular YouTube video, said, why people are fighting or why people are using guns to kill kafirs. We need not to kill anyone. We already in the process of winning over the world with the population bomb. Mm-hmm. By increasing population, we will take over the world. We need not to go for any war. We need not to do any territorial war. What he meant is, if the Hindu population in Kerala and Hindu population is just the half or less than half, their population growth percentage is equal, 16.37 or 16.8%. And if you analyze that equal percentage of population growth, you will see from today, 2021, into the next 8 years, Muslim population will cross Hindu population. That is exactly the sinister plan. It has been designed for Kerala, because you have to understand that ISIS or Islamic terrorism
Mhm.
is not any structural organization.
Right.
Today, ISIS has no footsteps, no strong ground to step. But ISIS, the influential factor of ISIS, is spreaded all over the world. It is entire Europe is under the threat of ISIS. America and in India, because of our political vulnerability, they have the strong ground. Now, if I say the political vulnerability, I mean to say that the Indian democracy is still not that powerful that can resist the threats, that international threats, international design to, conspiracy against my country. It is this democracy has not been empowered to do that. What I mean to say, it is made, maybe it BJP, maybe it Congress, maybe it left. They need Muslim vote to, win the election. So when the Muslims are their voter, you cannot talk about directly about the Islamic terrorism. You cannot talk about the ISIS because they are your prospective voters. So the moment it comes to the vote, everything, you won't believe that is the pain I am carrying. We have handed over more than 99 cases to NIA of similar, conversion, and the girls being taken to the countries like Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan. We have the documents, we have their passport numbers, we have their boarding pass number, we have their SMSs. Still, Government of India, 2 years back, the state minister of Home, he said there is no term called love jihad. He says on the floor of Parliament. Right. So just imagine that it looks like two different India. One India who is suffering, who knows that it is going to give you that breathlessness in very soon, regardless of the politics, whether it is CPM, whether it is BJP, whether it is Congress, everybody feeling the situation is Kerala is extremely volatile. It is sitting on the volcano like Vesuvius. Anytime it can explode, but on ground you hardly could see any action. So that is the reason it actually instigated me to go. And I belong to Bengal, so I can see the similar pattern in Bengal also. Right. And while we were discussing, I told you that in Bengal the post-poll violence, I have some different point of view. I will tell you about that. Yes, but my take-off point about Kerala is, I think as a filmmaker, my responsibility is to tell people that it is all not okay. It is not acceptable that Islamic terrorism is finding a solid ground in my country, in a place like Kerala. And if you see the pattern, I just wanted to add one line and then finish the answer. I'll complete this answer. That Kerala today, when Delhi, Maharashtra, which were the hotspot of pandemic, COVID-19. Yes. Now everything has, Mumbai has become normal, Delhi has become normal, but the number in Kerala is every day 22 to 25,000. Yes. And while inquiring, I come to know all over the world, when the international flights were not operating, the people from Arabian countries were relentlessly transporting to Kerala. Their international travel not been, just a small state like Kerala has 4 international airports. Yes. So why it is required? Because entire Arabian country has their own homeland kind of feeling when they are in Kerala. Maybe it is their business, it is their family, whatever. So as a filmmaker, I think it is my moral responsibility. So I made a documentary film called In the Name of Love. Right. That got a Best Film Award in London International Film Festival in 2019. And while making this film, I had a huge research. My team did a lot of research. It was very difficult shoot, but we did that. Now I am making a feature film in multiple language, in English, Malayalam, Hindi, on the subject of love jihad. How this girl's been been converted. It has a huge sinister plan, like the drugs coming from Arab, money, huge money being exchanged the hands, and they are converted and taking to that the lands of they as a gateway to Jannat is Syria, Iraq, and all. So this is what right now I am working, and I think this film will have a huge social repercussion in coming days.
I'm very confident that it will have a huge impact, and we are definitely looking forward to viewing it once it releases. It's some very disturbing developments that you've mentioned, Sudipto ji. And that brings me to my next question. You're from North Bengal. So you've been witness firsthand to the Naxalbari movement at the time of initiation and how it grew eventually into the 70s and the 80s. How difficult has this been for you, especially since you tend to have a slightly different ideological bent of mind, and especially since you've been a staunch critic of the Indian communist movement? Can you share with us some of the difficulties that you went through?
See, in 1967, when that Naxalite movement started in a place called Naxalbari, which is just at the foothill of Himalayas, which is in the Darjeeling district, and from my house it is 60 kilometers.
Right.
The Communist Party got broken. India. It was earlier Communist Party of India. Then it became CPM, Communist Party Marxist. Then eventually in 67, when that Naxalite movement started, that extremist group, the ultra-left group, got separated, and they are called CPIML, that is Marxist-Leninist.
Yes.
Now, it is a long history, so I am not getting into the political aspects of it. But what had happened is, my family was involved in that movement. My sister, my sister-in-law, my brother, they all were involved. In fact, entire Bengal was involved. Bengal was divided into two parts. Either you are a Naxalite or you are not a Naxalite. It was not that whether you were a Congress or anything. So that percolated to Calcutta also, when entire intelligentsia of Calcutta, most of the biggest the educational institutes like Presidency College, Jadavpur University, Calcutta University, all were being, their operation been stopped. The students are getting into it in a armed struggle. So it was a very, very volatile time in the early 70s. 67, that Naxalite movement happened, and 67 to 72, Calcutta was absolutely in brawl. And slowly it transferred to, it moved towards the south. I mean, it goes to Bihar, then Jharkhand, then Orissa, then now it is more concentrated into the Chhattisgarh, south Chhattisgarh, Bastar area.
Yes.
Now, Sharan, you have to understand that communist movement, the political observers, political scientists, sociologists always made a mistake in our country when we say communist movement. Yes, initially it started as a communist movement, but in a democratic system, even from the beginning of, in 1947, the CPI, from that time to 67, if we consider this 20 years, the history of communist movement in India was completely under democratic process. They were part of Indian democracy. So I refuse to accept the fact that it was evolved as any communist movement. No, it was not evolved as any communist movement.
Right.
It is, you can say they are more like social democrats, not communists. Now, when this leftist group, the ultra leftist group, got separated from this, and they picked up guns. Along with picking up guns, they started following the China model of communism.
Right.
Now, what is China model? In 1960, when Mao Zedong took over the power in China, when that agrarian revolution happened in China,
yes,
he realized that power has come to the peasants, but the mindset of Chinese, that feudal China has not been changed. So a long march set out. In that long march, 4 million people were being killed. 4 years long march, which covered the entire geographical area of China. 4 million, 40 lakh, people were being killed. So Indian Communist Party, the ultra-left Communist Party, which is Naxalite movement, they adopted the China model of revolution. Now, You have to understand the China model of revolution was the first nail in the coffin of communist movement in this country. How can a country like India, where in every 200 kilometers, their language, culture, food habit, the cultural practices gets changed. There, even in Bengal, in every 50 kilometers, the Bengali dialects get changed. In UP, you can get 69 languages of varieties of Hindi being spoken. How come a country, how can this country like India can adopt a model which is a homogeneous country? China is a homogeneous country. China has never dealt with this kind of political situation. So essentially the mistake been happened that India started, they had the slogan like Chinese chairman is our chairman. So these are the predominant slogan they used to have. In Calcutta, the walls were full with this kind of dialogues. So what happened is these mistakes, when you make a mistake in the inception, you towards the evolutionary process, you just magnitude wise, you keep increasing your mistakes. So India cannot be the model which model for Chinese or the Russian. India needs its own model. So the entire communist movement my biggest criticism for the communist movement is that this Indian communist movement was never Indian. It never analyzed, it never understood the nuances of a movement, communist movement. I would have been very happy that if the Chinese model would have been the Indian model. Yes, the voices of the have-nots, voices of the proletariats needs to be heard, because India is always been ruled by the upper caste, the Hindu population. They have their own cultural identity. Indian ruling class as a class by itself. And it had happened very sporadically. It had happened not as a more like a statistical fluctuation, that where any Dalit or any lower caste people or non-Brahmin has come to the power of the state. So these are the fallacies. These are the shortcomings, loopholes of our democracy is there. But if anything is wrong in your democracy, to strengthen that for the purpose of what you are doing is the only job you can do in the name of voices of the voiceless, in the name of voices of the poor. You cannot import anything from abroad and say, see, this is the model we got from you. The model has to evolve from India. It had happened now. Now what had happened is in 1977, first communist government formed in West Bengal. And for first 10 years, one good thing this government has done is the land reformation. Now, Sharan, you have to understand, India was never a leftist or a rightist country. And even today, the definition of right that we consider BJP is a right-wing party, definition of right and definition of left is not like that. So if you ask me, I would say that I am right of the left and left of the right. That is my position, more of a centric. What had happened is Jawaharlal Nehru, when Congress Party, 1947, when the policies of India, the first 5-year plan was being formulated, then right-winger, left-winger, all were the part of Congress. A small fraction of Hindu Parishad was separately doing their own, working on their own agenda. Even the topmost RSS leaders were part of the Congress movement essentially. Sardar Patel or whoever had a decent voice inside Congress, but they never compromised on the national issues. So that's the whole policy of government of India was left inclined because of the Russia's influence. So entire Jawaharlal Nehru's policy was influenced by Russia. And Russia's communist regime almost made India, because India was so Russia dependent, everything about what today we can see as India's might it is been made by Russia and designed by Russia. Like, for example, power plants. There is a treaty been signed between India and Russia that Russia will put up 7 power plants in India. And the anecdote was that in the process of setting up those power plants, they will teach us, they will give us the know-how of that, the engineering part of it, the knowledge part of it, they will impart, so that for the 8th powerhouse, India did not to depend on them. India will be self-reliant. But Russia tactfully didn't do that. That was the game of the communists they have done all over the world. What China is doing today, in the name of helping the economy of underdeveloped countries, China is helping them, and in the name of help, they are actually taking everything in their control. It happened in even in Australia now. They have bought up most of the biggest of the big companies in Australia. They have almost taking their territorial control over Sri Lanka. So this is how the communist movement in the world has done. Right. So initially it was looking very nice that Nehru's socialistic communist inclined, because it was talking about the poor, it was talking about hunger, it was talking about illiteracy, it was talking about a lot of things. But in ground, nobody checked whether India is prepared for that. What India exactly need, nobody gone to the grassroots level to ask that whether we need that. If you tell me, Sudipto, I'm going to help you. By helping, you will give me food, you will give me, my day-to-day course things, without asking whether I need your help or not. So if you really want to help me, you will understand the grassroots reality of Sudipto. You will understand the grassroots reality of the country. That process has not been happened. Right. Entire, till the time the JP movement and emergency came. I hail the student leader like Arun Jaitley ji, or George Fernandez. These people, they are the student that time. So first time in India, parallel voice started raised up when the communists, the agendas of the communists are being countered, are being questioned by essentially the nationalistic forces. And the concept of nationalism, no matter what, in which definition, first time started coming during the JP movement. And now in last 7 years, we got a nationalist government. I have no doubt about talking about that. But nationalism is a cultural process as well as it is not only an economic process. By making policies in Delhi, you cannot change the mindset of this country. So definitely we got a nationalist government, but the process of becoming nationalist, that process not been, I think that is the deficiency which we have been inherited from our predecessors. Right. But we could not become nationalist because that cultural process of becoming a nationalist not been started. It was a historical responsibility on these people in the power, and to me they miserably failed. That even today we had to wait for someone's personal charisma to get vote for the party. It was not supposed to be like that. Now you said about Bengal, I just come to Bengal in 2 lines. What happened is, from 77 onwards, it was a CPM government was there. Now, being CPM government, they were in constant tussle with the central government. And Mamata Banerjee, when Mamata Banerjee came to power 10 years back, Mamata Banerjee didn't come to power as a philosophical or a political opponent of the system. Right. She used the system of Bengal, the anarchy, the anger, the anarchism or anti-Delhi notions. Right. Mamata Banerjee inherited. She actually used the tactics or the strategy of CPM, and by the time Mamata Banerjee was powerful in Bengal, She understood the politics of CPM, how they were in the power for 35 years. Mamata Banerjee adopted the same strategy. And inherently, Bengal has an anger against Delhi, no matter who is in the party, who is in the power. So Mamata Banerjee very clinically used that anti-Delhi sentiment to come to power even this year, in the third time. So my point is, Bengal's genesis is a little different from the genesis of the other part of the Indian politics. Bengal is the worst sufferer of the refugee issue.
Right.
Almost 15 lakh refugees has crossed the border from 47 to, which is huge, humongous number. Sorry, it is 2 million, 20 million refugees has come. This is the number, yes. So my point is that holistically, nationalist movement is not become a movement in my country. And that is the reason we neither countered socialism, neither we could manage to give the befitting reply to the communists, nor we can do anything, we could do anything to, to consider us as a nationalist India. That also didn't happen. It was a fractured concoction of different ideologies and thoughts is basically making my country vulnerable. We are vulnerable because Islamic terrorism can find India as their home. Any interest like Pakistan, China, Nepal, even Nepal at times, Bangladesh, the hostility against India because we could not become a strategic nationalist country. It is a fractured existence we are. So as a filmmaker, definitely it's an interesting case study. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that elaborate answer. Since you brought up what is happening in West Bengal and how Mamata Banerjee is sort of surfing on the sentiment of anti-Delhi and anti-Delhi anger that resents in the majority Bengali voters, we see this exercise of post-poll violence almost every election, whether it's the assembly election or it's the Lok Sabha election. Always there is violence that happens between party cadres, and there is bloodshed and there is a lot of destruction to property and life. And you're one of the very few people who accurately predicted what was going to happen in Bengal, wherein most of the psephologists in India had said that the BJP would get actually 150 to 200 seats. How did you actually predict this? And what do you think is the end to all the violence? How can this stop, Sudipto ji?
Saran, there is a very interesting, if you have to understand Bengal, you have to understand Bengal does not like Gandhi. We don't like Jawaharlal Nehru. No matter whether I am a communist or a Congressee or a BJP, we have a very definite choices. We love Subhash Chandra Bose.
Right.
We love Bhagat Singh. We love basically who has a rebellious voice.
Right.
Who is anti-establishment. Bengal has a nature of being anti-establishment because it has a huge genesis. I can explain you going for hours. The problem is we never tried to understand what Bengal is. What BJP made the mistake, which I told them 3 months before the election, one of the top BJP leadership, I told that if Bengal, you are not going to get Bengal under any circumstances. If you get 50-60 seats, I will be surprised. Because first thing is, the BJP made the mistake that they made Durga and Ram fought in the ground. The concept to us, to Bengalis, Ram is not a god.
Mm-hmm.
To Bengalis, Durga is the god. Like in South India.
Right.
Jai Shri Ram is a very, very pious, very, very rich, religious and sophisticated. It's an identity of the nation, identity of India. But India is not confined into Hindi belt, right? In Uttarakhand, there are Hindu communities, Hindu tribes who worship Ravana, who does not consider Ram as their god. In Bengal, Ram is a character who is like our family, we respected family man. That is what is the impression of Ram in West Bengal, in Assam, in Bihar, in Northeast.
Right.
So the basic mistake had happened is we could not understand the nuances of being Bengal. BJP had the biggest opportunity this year to, communists were no more existed. Mamata Banerjee was at her least popularity. BJP would have easily got 200 seats. But the very beginning of this election machinery, they made some basic mistakes. And that mistakes is the mistake which people continuously kept on doing in Bengal. What had happened is Mamata Banerjee's rise is exactly the situation in Kerala, which I described you a bit before. Bengal, Mamata Banerjee do not get support more than 18 to 20% of Bengali population. Earlier it was CPM. Now everything about CPM has come to transfer to Mamata Banerjee. Whereas BJP is very close second. And Congress has a very stapled vote in Bengal. So Mamata Banerjee, neither Congress voter nor the CPM voter is going to vote for Mamata Banerjee. So Mamata Banerjee needed Muslim vote. And in last 10 years, if you see if you go through the incidences happened in Bengal, and unstoppable influx of Bangladeshis are being recorded, are kept on happening. Wherever in Bengal, say she needs the support of another 7 to 8%. That 7 to 8% will come from where? People start coming from Bangladesh. They get 7% people, So very clinically, Mamata Banerjee analyzed the voter profile, and she ensured that to defeat a BJP candidate, I need to gather 20,000 additional vote. So those 20,000 additional vote will come from Bangladesh. Bangladesh, there was a meeting happened with the Islamic terrorist groups. They had a meeting. I have their documents that they have a plan to make a greater Bengal with Myanmar, Bangladesh, and Bengal. So Mamata Banerjee's plan is basically complementing to the Greater Bengal plan. So to defeat Mamata Banerjee, it was the least expected that Ram will fight with Durga, because Durga is our main deity. Bengal Durga Puja, and Durga is Bengal's own deity. We kind of own Durga Mata. So it was wrong to look Bengal fight as the fight of BJP in other states. Jai Shri Ram, seeing Mamata Banerjee, Jai Shri Ram, that the war cry did not work in Bengal. It may give you a goosebump. It may give you an instant hype that I made Mamata Banerjee come down from the car and abuse and all. But it was not the case in my family. I can tell you, in my family in North Bengal, first thing they refused BJP only because that they said BJP leaders has insulted Durga. How come a party can insult a Durga in Bengal? We started telling Bengali, don't eat fish, don't eat chicken, don't eat mutton. In Bengali pujas, in Bengali, any household pujas, we offer fish to the god. So fish, non-veg, like in Northeast. Beef eating is Northeast religious practice. Beef eating is a religious practice of Kerala. It's a social practice in Goa. So the main issue should have been the political countering of Mamata Banerjee, that raising the issue of Islamic terrorism, the threat of Islamic terrorism. Those issues become redundant. Those issues become secondary. Issues of Shri Ram, fish, and mutton become the bigger issue. So the strategy was, from the day one, the strategy was BJP could not understand the amount of this khela hobe. BJP should not have, it should have been BJP's pole plank, khela hobe, because Bengali can identify with the word khela. No other state excepting Goa, no other state can understand the impression of the word khela. It is a household word. So Mamata Banerjee played with those small, because she had no agenda. She knew that she is fighting a losing game. Bengalis are essentially an intellectual. They don't take decision from heart. They take decision from mind. So you have the opportunity to get inside the mind, defeat her in her own backyard by countering her poll planks. Khala Hobe should have been BJP's plank, not Mamata Banerjee's plank. So these are the thing, So Islamic terrorism has a interesting plan. Bengal from east, northeast from northeast, Kashmir and Kerala. So and of course up the Bastar. So these sinister plan, and I can with all support system, we all support base, I can tell you it's a larger plan being hatched. Kerala, Bengal model of Islamic terrorism, Kerala model of Islamic terrorism, Northeast, the insurgencies using the mode of anti-India mode of Northeast insurgencies, and of course our perennial workaround Kashmir. So it is a multi-pronged attack being designed. So my point is that we cannot. Right now, it is not the time of right-wing, left-wing fight. It is the time to understand the concept of nationalism. You have to understand that nationalists are the only people can save this land. It is not the concept of whether I am left inclined or a right inclined. India does not have a traditional left or traditional right. In India, left does not exist. There is no communist party exists. In no state government is this time. The communist backyard got 0 seats in Bengal communists. But it is in the mindset. Leftist is not a party. Leftist is a mindset, like our film industry. Predominantly, the hangover of that 100 years of people's theater, which is eminently a leftist movement. That movement actually controlled the mindset of Indian cinema, and that is why there is so much of dissent you can see in the film industry. So much of dissent you can see. So the concept, ideologically, the mistake had happened is ideologically we could not propagate the philosophy or ideology of nationalism. So if you say that I am a rightist, I will not say I'm a rightist. I will say, and I'll proudly say, I'm a nationalist. And that is the definition of every Indian. That should be the target of this movement,
I think you should be Sudipto ji, because after all, nationalism was perhaps born in Bengal, during the independence movement, and that's sort of lost the strain, especially after the communist movement. Those are some very, very interesting points that you raised.
Okay, and I think I just want you in your first question you mentioned about JNU and JNU and my experience where I was being beaten.
Right. Sudipto ji, that brings me to my last question. And I hate to bring up these memories because after you produced and directed this documentary on Love Jihad, you released this in JNU, and you were also planning to release this across other university campuses in India. And yesterday, while I was going through YouTube, I came across your news reports and a video where you're physically assaulted. And it hates to, it actually pains me to see that video where you're telling that I'm an artist. I will protect your freedom of speech. I'll protect your freedom of expression. You can voice out whatever you want. And I have my opinion. So, pehle aap to dekh lo, then you decide for yourself whether you want to watch this or not. And if you're comfortable with it, could you please recall that horrifying experience that you went through?
Yeah, it is horrific. And I can tell you, being a mountaineer, I faced a lot of life-threatening incidences. I could see, there had happened that while crossing a glacier, the crevasse opened up. I could not cross. So a lot of life-threatening incidences happened with me. But this JNU incidents was something which I'll never forget. I'll tell my tell my children, my grandchildren that this thing could happen. You know, it was in Sabarmati Dhaba, the screening was being planned. And 3 days before, Twitter and Facebook, where a shimmering campaign was going on that right-wingers are trying to, bring the film, which is a right-winger film, which is a BJP's propaganda against Muslims. That Love Jihad film is coming up. So I tried to reply wherever I saw that kind of Facebook pages, Facebook messages, Twitter messages. I told them that see the film, and after that you want to beat me, you want to discuss the film, but watch the film first. So I didn't expect that this kind of situation will happen. When I reached with my computer, my film was being screened from my laptop, and there was a projection, and it's a screen, big screen, and a lovely projection was going on. And a group of students led by the JNUSU, which was at that time Nidhi Jha was the secretary, led by her. They started sloganeering, then they burned my effigy, all these leaderships effigy they burned. Still, the screening started in time. There were approximately 200 people who were watching the script as screening. In the middle of the screening, they attacked in a very, very planned way. They encircled the whole crowd. First, they broken the screen. It was a LED screen. So they broken the screen. I was being protected because my laptop was there. So 2-3 people of the organizers. Organizer was Swami Vivekanand Memorial Association of. There is an organization dedicated to Swami Vivekanand philosophy. So they organized it. So they were protecting me, but then the second plan of attack was being on us. So somehow I saved my computer. To save my computer, one of my female associates, she got a blow, and I got a couple of blows. But somehow we managed to come out of the place, and I was being sheltered in one of the professor's house. Then I could not move out of that place whole night. And then I come to know that the worst possible riot started inside JNU. And the old SFI leaders, old JNU-SU leadership, they came with cars being encircled. The security who tried to stop them, one of the worst incidents happened that one of the ex-JNU secretary, JNU-SU secretary, ran the car from the body of that one of the security, and he lost his leg. Even after 1.5 years, he is still in hospital in AIMS. And 17 police cases has happened. Many students who have been injured. It was, I have been told that it is the worst riot had happened in JNU campus. So I am really, I feel very bad that because of my film, this thing had happened. JNU, even today I respect, because I am Education Council member of JNU. So even today, I consider JNU is one of the pride of my country. Now, interesting thing happened is post that incidents, many, you can check my Facebook page, many in hundreds of number, the JNU-SU supporter, the leftist supporter apologized to me. They said, sorry, that it should not have happened. So I am happy that, yes, I belong to a family where student politics has been predominantly there in my blood. So I love the energy in the youth. So I have no problem in that. But the problem is somewhere else. Problem is intolerance. Now it is intolerance has become the most abused word. The leftist complaining against the rightists, that rightists are intolerant. But unfortunately, the biggest intolerance I could see on the leftist people, because they violate the basic human understanding of the nature or the society. The thing is, prima facie, you didn't see the film, you don't know the film, and you made your opinion that it is anti-Muslim film. In my film, I have interviewed the biggest Muslim leader of Kerala. His name is O. Abdullah. I have his interview. I have Brinda Karat's interview in my film. And everybody spoken to me, even extreme, radical, anti-BJP, anti-RSS people spoken civilized way in my film. And I have given my impression in the film. I never said any word against Islam. Yes, I vehemently oppose the Islam, the scheme of Islamic terrorism. So if Islam and Islamic terrorism is in the same meaning, then I have a problem. Then my film is for them. But not a single frame is dedicated to dedicatedly spoken against Islam. No, even sensible Malayali Muslims always spoken against ISIS. There is a very small fraction of Muslims who are being influenced by these radical Islamic forces are there. I spoke essentially about the larger plan, larger international conspiracy being hatched. They found Kerala is the most vulnerable part of the country because of their cultural demography, religious demography. So
Yes.
now come to JNU politics, because somehow post that incident, I become part of the JNU system. I am a Education Council member now. What I have realized is that radicalization of student politics has a base in India. You cannot deny that. Even for that matter, if you think ABVP is a right-wing student union, in many places ABVP has done. From like Arun Jaitley ji. Arun Jaitley ji was the most prominent student face during JP movement. And he was among the first group of people who were being arrested during emergency. So radicalization or aggressive student politics is part of Indian culture, and we enjoy many places that student movement has changed. Some of the biggest leaders at this moment in the country, whether in a central or in a state level, are the product of the student politics. Sushma ji, Arun Jaitley ji, you take names, most of the student leaders are in the national politics. So you have to keep the space open for the students to say. And definitely you can't expect students will talk in your language. They have their own anger, they have their own adrenaline, they have their own hormones. So they will talk about that, and they will be judgmental. They will have their own setup understanding. So the narrative is not that. Narrative is whether that politics, which politics come out of the campus of that particular university. If the politics of Jadavpur University or a JNU or Osmania University or the Delhi University coming out with that radicalism, which is not conducive enough for Indian system of ideological war, ideological arguments, if you are not part of that argumentative process, then that politics should not come out of the university campus.
Absolutely.
You can recall Indira Gandhi was being questioned by JNU when JNU was the first time JNU went for strike. Indira Gandhi went to meet the students. They said, "We don't want to talk to you." Can you imagine that that student has the guts to challenge the system, the prime minister of the country? Because that is what is the nice democracy, nice nationalistic ambience, a narrative being created. But if that is being drawn out of the students' politics, when we come out of the university, we come out with the spirit. We come out with the ideology. We don't come out of that aggression.
Yes.
With the moment you come to the social life, you are out from your hostel and you are now part of the social system. Whether you are going to politics or in a corporate world,
yes,
you tame down. Every age it's their own. A child crawls, then it stands, then it walks, then it becomes adult. So student coming out of the student political university walls, then they become tamed down. They started understanding the nuances of the life under democracy.
right.
So this mistake has happened in JNU. This mistake has happened that JNU politics is being drawn out of the JNU wall,
Right.
and it started influencing our social system. Everybody, every Tom, Dick, Harry who never went to the colleges has their opinion about whether JNU should be there or not, whether Osmania University will be there or Hyderabad University will be there or not. Everybody is counting condoms outside the hostels. So this is not the conducive ambience. This is not the ecosystem of a student politics. Student politics has to be there in a society. It strengthens the society, be it nationalist or a supporting the government or dissent. It has to have it strengthen the society, strengthen the country, but it has to be like responsibly handled by the leadership. When they come out, they become a good citizen, tamed down citizen with the energy of the passion of the country. But definitely, yeah, it depends on the system which is working. So there is some lacunas we left along with these 7 years, which we wanted to have. We wanted to have a nationalist society, nationalist students movement. We wanted to see nationalism as the driving force of the country, which could not happen. That is my criticism for this present government. Otherwise, yes, we definitely, in a democratic system, you always leave a space for development. We have a lot of space open for making the India, because we are in a right space at this moment to make my country Vishwaguru. Only thing is, these lacunas needs to be understood, and responsibility, definitely being a filmmaker, we have the responsibility to do that.
I'm at a loss of words. I mean, just hearing and watching your experience in JNU, that sort of really kept me up at night, and I was actually looking forward for this interview, because I don't think a lot of media actually covered this. Only a section.
Yeah, I got a newspaper coverage, like Times of India kind of, they interviewed me. I have a lot of newspaper cuttings I got, but unfortunately I have been told by police and government, some of the seniors told me, don't show this film publicly,
Right.
because our country is not yet prepared to see this kind of radical films and all.
Right.
But definitely my film, which I am right now doing on conversion and Love Jihad, that I will not stop. Nobody can stop me to make the film, take the film internationally, tell the story, what is happening in my country.
Right.
That I'm going to do. That cannot be resisted.
On a lighter note, Sudipto ji, I think there are two symbols for when you know that you're doing something right. That is, if your effigy is burnt and a placard is held against you. So both of them have happened to you. So you know that you're doing something right, and we wish you a very good luck for your upcoming projects as well. And we would love to have you again to talk about a lot of things. It's been very enlightening for all of us.
Thank you, sir.
Namaskar, sir.
Thank you so much. And being such a young journalist, you are interested in this kind of, people are mostly dealing with the headlines these days. They don't go even read the body of that article, and you have that energy and interest of understanding the nuances, the basic micro level understanding of a subject. You are one of the rarest of the rare journalists. That I can tell you. All my best wishes to you. All my best wishes.
Thank you so much, sir. I hope I have your blessings
all the best.
to do the same work in the future as well. For our viewers watching this, please do subscribe to our content. We will be bringing out more such interviews. Until then, namaste.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.